Alright, so we're about to get started on getting the clutch blood out. Got our special tool here that we made that'll make sure that we can purge any kind of air bubbles out of the line going all the way down. And we've already got this kind of emptied out, which it needs to be cleaned out. There's some stuff in there we probably don't want going down in there. But we also have underneath the car here, the clutch line is connected, which we can see here. And we'll go ahead and get some fluid in here. We'll get to pumping the pedal, and I'll be breaking the bleeder open from under here. It'll be a little precarious. Not sure if we're going to film that part of what we're doing today, but that's where we're getting started anyway. So we'll go ahead and get after that, and we'll be right back. This is the situation now. We took this apart. We had an idea from Jeremy from Faster Proms, read some forum stuff, thought we might be able to get a chance to reach down the back of the motor and get to the bleeder. That was not the case. Bleeder's a little bit tricky to get to. Got to be a little bit of a contortionist, which we are not, but we try. We got somewhere a little bit with the setup that we have, but what ended up happening is the master cylinder was no good. So we got another one of those. We're going to go ahead and deal with that. Not quite yet though. We also lost a roll pin. It was a lot of fun trying to find that. And we've got that taken care of as well. And here's our old master cylinder. But what I will be filming is going to be the axle seals here. And there's some really nasty looking differential fluid in there. I'll try and catch that as I dump it out. I'm probably just going to start with tipping this thing right on the side and letting it drain that stuff out into a pan. So I'm going to set the camera up and maybe try to wrestle this thing up into a position where that'll be okay and I can get a pan underneath here. We'll see how that goes. Alright, so what we want to start off with this thing first. So I want to get this differential fluid out of here, and I just want to kind of do it the easy way. This is either genius or it's completely stupid. I'll let you decide. It's probably a little bit of both, if I was to take a guess. But I'm going to pick this here transmission up, and I'm going to put it on this here stool, which probably has a weight capacity that this is going to exceed. But I'd like to get it up on top of here so that I can maybe roll it over, it'll stay stationary, and I can let it sit here and drain out differential fluid into this pan. If I don't hurt myself, if I don't hurt the transmission, and if I get this fluid out of here, I guess that means we're successful. So here goes nothing. That was a surprise. Alright, well, let's get some more out. Stupid right about now, but it's working. I'm not entirely sure that's just going to stay. Well, here's the frothy oil. A little foamy. Not a big deal. Made a little bit of a mess, as you can see. But all things considered, that thing does sit on the stool. Not sure how heavy it is, but it sure felt heavy. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and get this set up a different position here, and we're going to go ahead and get to the axle seals. This is the next thing that we need to do. And I didn't want to pop axle seals out and have that nasty stuff coming out all over the place while I'm doing that. So I imagine that would have been a bigger mess. Maybe I save a little bit of weight. Probably not much. I mean, there can't be much that went into there. So what I think we'll do is get this all set up in a better position, like I said, and get those popped out. Sorry, I'm a little out of breath. That was heavy. It's going to be heavy to put back down too, I'm sure. So let me get that set up, and we'll move on to the next clip. Alright, so we have here the side of our transmission. It is sitting on the floor. Again, got it off the stool. The stool is not exactly happy, but we got things done, and we're back on the ground. Nothing got hurt. So I got this little blue tray here. Got my favorite hammer. I've got a little flat, not a punch, chisel. I guess I would call that a chisel. And I like to kind of stick it behind the lip here and just give it some little taps, being very careful to not damage the casing itself. And if you're careful and diligent, then you can definitely do that without hurting anything. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to set the camera up and probably do a little, I don't even know if it'll be a time lapse. We'll see how long it takes to pop this little seal out, and then I'll get the other one out too. I've already gone over here and secured the vent the right way underneath here. It's got a little bolt that you may or may not see right down there. And this guy had to be out of the way, the solenoid, I guess. That's part of the vent for this manual transmission. Not a lot of manual transmissions have a transmission temperature sensor, but this one does. And these manuals do get kind of warm, so you definitely want to have it venting. We're going to deal with the transmission fluid at a later time. We like to use AMSOIL, and we know we can perform that service while this is in the car very easily, so that's how we're going to deal with that. But for now, we do have the differential oil, and we're not going to put that in just yet, but I'm going to get these couple of seals changed out here, and we'll get the fill plug at least, which is right here on the back. We'll get that guy ready to go, make sure it's loosened up, and then we can send this thing on up once I have these new seals in here and everything. That'll be the last that I have to do to finalize this thing, and then we can get the cradle up into place. That'll be pretty awesome. Of course, all of that is contingent on getting the hydraulics situated, and we'll get to that in the video here too. Look at that. No connection, all this play. Piston is stuck in. Because you have a piston that'll push this way, and it'll push on that hydraulic fluid, and it'll push another piston somewhere else. It's just displacement, basically. This one moves and the other one moves right along with it. And if you have any air, then that can't happen, because air will compress, obviously. Hydraulic fluid will not. And if your piston becomes seized, this is kind of what it looks like. That this will actually go in and out like, geez, I'd like to say it's an inch, maybe it's more than an inch. But I was wondering why I couldn't get it to bleed. That's exactly why I couldn't get it to bleed. And then, right after we got the new master, this little guy, the roll pin, was on the vise, which was up here on the bench, and the vise fell down and sent this guy flying. We have no idea where it went to. We probably spent a good 35 minutes looking for it, probably not the best way to spend your time. So we'll go ahead and pick this back up when I have the camera set up, and I'll do a little time lapse for you of what we're doing with those seals on there. Alright, well, hopefully this is a pretty decent little angle. I'm going to go ahead and do my thing here, pop this guy on out. I've already got it kind of started there, if you probably saw in the last clip. Well, there goes one. That wasn't too terribly hard. Alright, well, there's that new. And right down there is that old nasty AIDS over here. So why don't we just throw that on there? Whoa, look at that. And there she is, all the way on there, and seated. There's the focus. Man, can we pause this car video for this here nature break? I don't know where you guys are at as you're watching this, but we're in Colorado, and leaves are starting to turn. Camera might focus one day. Holy smokes, it's bright down there. It's a really bright day. Temperature's not too bad. I am not completely displeased with this. It's alright. I think we'll just leave the garage door open as long as the light doesn't kind of start coming in here and blinding me. I don't know, I just thought we would take a little break real quick and do that. I like to sometimes just get a breath of fresh air and see what's going on outside. It helps me clear my mind. Sometimes I just get a little crazy. Sometimes you get a little nutty doing the same things over and over again. Definitely have hit some setbacks putting this thing together. In the videos, I'm sure as you see, we'll have a little bit of time in between them, but we run into things like incidentals and little problems where, you know, you didn't anticipate you were going to need a part or a seal or whatever it is that you might need. Or sometimes you just lose it entirely. I think I'll still be looking forever for this little roll pin, even though I've got like a whole box of these things now. I've got like this really neat assortment. I don't think I'll run out of roll pins anymore. But besides that fact, just wanted to comment on the day. Didn't want to talk too much on the car video here. Just I think everybody should kind of stop what they're doing, whether they love what they're doing or not. Sometimes that little break that you take and deep breath, look around, you know, kind of changes perspective sometimes. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys anyway, right? Alright, so we're going to try a different camera this time. We're going to film with the phone for a little while and just see how that works out. I think it'll work out better because that other camera was rather potato-ish. So we're going to try this out. We've got a nice day out here in Colorado. It kind of lightened up and the snow went away. So everything's just kind of melting. Leaves are all over the place. Got a few things that we're going to want to do here on this new day of messing with stuff. We did get the one axle seal in. We're going to get the other axle seal in, which is down there. And that needs to go into this side over here. And this one has been removed. Pulled that one out already. So we're just going to get that tapped in there and try and do some cleanup. This thing looks pretty bad. We don't want to try and get our hands all greasy trying to put this thing back in. So we're going to try and clean that up the best we can. We've got the fluid out of there, so that should make it a little bit easier. And then as you can see, there's like, you know, we had some things going on over the week, and there's just stuff in the garage that's just in weird places. So we're going to take care of all that stuff. We definitely have our heat going on. And the big thing of the day is going to be this right here. We've got our clutch master cylinder. We've got the new one and the old one. And the problem that we've been running into that's been kind of holding everything up is the fact that this little seal here on this guy is was not easy to find. There's a little O-ring that's on there. But what we found is that the inside diameter here was a little bit smaller than the inside diameter here on the new master cylinder. So the donut, or the little O-ring that worked out here, wasn't working out here at all. We tried putting some vacuum on it and everything else. We noticed it wouldn't even hold air at all. No inches of vacuum were able to hold through past that other O-ring, and it really wasn't that worn out. So we had to kind of find this, and it wasn't easy to find. It was not available at a parts store. We actually had to go to like a little seal shop, or like a seal manufacturer, and one of the first things they asked us if it was the fluid that needs to go past this, which is brake fluid, and it's caustic, so that's going to be a bit of a problem. They were able to hook us up with something that was not a quad O-ring, which is usually what would go in here on a C5 Corvette master cylinder, but it does fit pretty decently. And we're going to be able to get our roll pin in there and get everything together, and we're going to try this thing out and see if we can't get a pedal on the Corvette today. And if we can, then that means we can go ahead and put the transmission and the cross member that's over there into the car and get this thing down on the ground and at least moving around. And that's like, you know, getting closer to the finalization of the job. The old master cylinder here had this good inch of play. As we see here, where there's no play, we know that that piston's not seizing up. The piston basically is not moving back up, and that's why we're getting this play in here. The piston should be pushing that rod, or pushing on that rod, and we've tried everything, bleeding this thing out, but if that can't return, then you're just kind of fighting against the inevitability of having to replace the part. So that's where we're at now. We're going to go ahead and get this roll pin in here, make sure that this is cool. We might try to see if we can't get a little bit of bench bleeding happening here. Maybe, maybe not, and then we'll get it into the car, and then we'll start trying to bleed it, and we'll see if that gives us any kind of pedal. Alright, so this here is our little roll pin, and this is what holds in the little line here. And you see there's a hole on the other side, and there's a little seat inside of this, around this line, and basically that roll pin is going to hold things in place. So I'm just going to use this hammer. I'm going to tap this thing into place real lightly. We're going to use this wood block to do it so that we don't hurt anything. And there we go. That's a roll pin in place. Now later on, if we want to go ahead and put like a cotter pin through this, we can. We might later on, you know, do that just in case. We do have access to this without going real crazy to get access. And what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to make sure that we're fully seated and we have the same amount of distance on each side, which is what we're going for. And what I used was kind of a little backwards there, I guess, but we use this nail, which is going to sit in the center of that seat and push it down without pushing on the outside here. So now that we've got that pin in place, we've got this other pin in place here for the fitting that goes to the reservoir. Everything is ready to go, and we're going to go ahead and try to place this in the car. Alright, we've got it. Here, let me. Alright, so we've got Ray here. He's about to do this axle seal. Go ahead and pull that thing out of the bag.
Probably not dropping it and breaking it. So this is our outer surface here. And what we want to do is we want to find a socket down there that fits about right here. See how that's where the metal is there?
Mm-hmm.
So right on that edge of that thing there, it's got to be about that size. Maybe a little smaller. Nope, bigger than that. Isn't this a fun game?
Super fun.
Super duper fun. Ooh, that looks perfect. All right, so let's go take that over to the transmission. So, you're going to want to put the bottom side of that seal right into place here. So go ahead and set that down there. And try and get it centered. And kind of push down a little bit and be centered. Yeah, see how you're kind of already a little cockeyed?
Cockeyed, yeah.
That's okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Just try to get it as straight as you can there.
Jeez. There you go. Feels pretty centered.
Okay. Now just set that socket on top of there. And then not too hard, but give it some taps on the top there. Go around evenly around that circle. There you go. See how you got a little bit more on that side there?
All the way down?
Until it's all the way, yeah.
Until it's flush?
Until it won't go any further. You'll have like a solid kind of a feel. If it's up on a side, you just kind of hit it on that side. There you go. Alright, let's take a look. Yeah. That feels nice all the way around. Pretty even. Not bad, young man. Not bad. So I think we're at a point, we've done a lot of cleaning, and we're kind of tired of the cleaning process right now. We're not going to get it immaculate here by hand in the garage without, at least another couple more cans of brake cleaner, which we're not spending the $7, $8 on. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to finalize a couple of bolts underneath on the bell housing. I'm not sure if we're going to film that or not. And once we get done with that, we'll go ahead and start sticking this thing up. It'll be time to start putting a transmission in the air and connecting it to the torque tube. That should be a lot of fun. And if we can get that bolted onto the torque tube and finalized, then it's time to dig the cradle out from underneath all of this mess, and we'll be able to stick the cradle up on there and get that all bolted. And then we're pretty close to getting this thing rolling. What do you guys think?
Loving it.
Think we're gonna get a car rolling today?
I think so, man. I really do.
I hope so. I think we'll be able to at least start it. We don't have the rear gaskets for the exhausts, as I think we've mentioned before, but it doesn't mean we're not going to send it and start it and at least move it around and get it out of the middle of the garage. Definitely a lot of garage projects that need to be done that this is holding up, so this will be a good thing. We can get this thing on the ground by sundown, man. That'll be pretty awesome. We'll see what happens. We can see the sun is still out today. So on to the next steps. So we're going to pick this thing up. We're going to put it on the tranny jack. We're ready to stick this thing up. We're going to try and film that whole process of getting it up into position. But first things first, we got to get this up there. And we've got it kind of backwards from what we need. So we're going to kind of try to get this side pointing that way. And try not to hit the car and try not to hurt ourselves. Try not to drop this transmission. So here we go.
On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Alright, go that way. Step around. Here we go. Alright, that's not going to work out. We're going to need to rotate it this way. So rotation. Kind of get these eyes underneath there. Or we're not. Alright, I think that's about as on there as we're gonna get. All this mess. Well, we didn't make it, and the car is still in the air, and it's nighttime, and all of the leaves in the wind are trying to blow in here. But what we did get was the entire cradle put up, and the transmission's in there. You'll just have to trust me. And the axles are in there on both sides. But one thing that we just ran into that kind of stopped us for the night is the pistons came out on these rear calipers while they were hanging back here, and we had no idea. And that would be on account of our buddy Ray over there. We told him to hit the pedal for the clutch that we were working on, and he hit the brakes a few times. We didn't think about it at the time, but that's what happened. Those things came out. So we got Josh over here. He's scouring the internet for the rebuild kit, so that's where we're at with that right now. So tomorrow, some cleanup, some tool inventory, some bolt inventory, and we'll see if we can't get this the rest of the way together. It's a bummer that it worked out this way, but sometimes that's just the way that it goes. And anybody who's been out there working on cars before knows that every once in a while you just run into something by surprise, and that's what happened to us. So stay tuned for the next one. We'll get back at it again tomorrow. I think we're a couple of videos back right now, so I'll have to get one loaded up. You guys will be watching that probably the day after I film this. So a lot of content, a lot of little pitfalls that we've run into. We'll kind of cover a lot of that stuff in the wrap video for this whole thing. And until then, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Peace.